That's all for now, Burt. You weren't nominated this year, and neither were you, KK. In 1957, Burt Lancaster made Kirk Douglas cry in front of many fans by telling him a mean joke. Burt Lancaster and his friend appeared in 7 films together, showing the ups and downs of their intense friendship and why it eventually ended badly. Burt Lancaster was born on November 2, 1913, in a small apartment in Manhattan. His father, a postal worker, struggled to support their family of 7 on just $18 a week. They lived in East Harlem, a tough neighborhood with a mix of different people. Burt grew up in a small place, and his grandparents had come from Ireland. Their determination inspired him a lot. As a child, he would go with his father on mail routes and learn about hard work and the different cultures in the city. Life in Harlem was tough. When Burt was just 9 years old, he saw a murder happen on his street, though he hardly talked about it. This surprising event stuck with him for his whole life. However, he had some happy memories from his childhood. Reading was one of his favorite things to do, and he would borrow books from the library every week. This helped him understand his roles in movies better. Burt was a challenging child to raise. By the age of 11, he had joined a group called the Red Devils and often got into trouble when he was around other kids. Burt's life changed at a place called Union Settlement, where he discovered his love for gymnastics. He spent many hours practicing on the bars and rings. His hard work paid off when a talent scout from the circus noticed him at age 16 and offered him a summer job with the famous Ringling Brothers. By the time Burt was 19, he and his best friend Nick teamed up to create an acrobatic group called Lang. They did risky stunts like flips and somersaults without safety nets, and joined a small traveling circus. They loved the excitement of the adventure, even though they didn't earn much money and often slept in barns. Because of their skills, they got a spot in the big Ringling Brothers circus, where they could perform amazing acts high up in the air. But Burt had a serious accident while performing. In 1939, he fell 40 feet, breaking his ribs and hitting his head. Because of his injuries, he could no longer work in the circus. To support himself while recovering, Burt took various jobs, including working as a singing waiter. There, he discovered that people liked his personality and energy. In 1943, during World War II, he joined the military, and being older than most soldiers didn't hold him back. He stood out because of his strength and skills, which allowed him to entertain the troops by performing in shows. This was his first time enjoying being on stage. In contrast, Burt did more than just entertain during the war. He also fought in battles, including the famous Battle of the Bulge. During one battle, he showed amazing bravery by taking a German machine gun post all by himself. Burt rarely talked about his experiences, but he received a bravery award for them. Even though he had a hard time dealing with his memories of fighting after the war, he later used those experiences to help him when making war movies. After the war, a Broadway producer noticed Burt's talent and encouraged him to try acting. Burt made his acting debut at 32 years old in a play called The Sound of Hunting. Harold Hec, a Hollywood agent, thought Burt could be a great actor when Universal Studios was looking for a new talent for the movie The Killers. He set up an audition for Burt, but it went poorly because Burt had no acting experience and felt nervous. Despite this, the producer, Mark Hellinger, saw something special in Burt and said, "I don't care if he can act, he is the one who has it." As a result, Burt got the role. When the film came out, viewers were really impressed with Burt's performance. He played a tough but sad boxer named Swed, and he did a fantastic job even though he had no formal training. His strong presence won people over. The movie was a big hit, and Burt became famous right after it was released. In the first week, he got thousands of letters from fans and signed a contract that paid him $11,000 a week, which was a lot of money. Burt was new to acting and didn't know much at first. However, he worked hard to learn more. On his first movie set, the director had to show him simple things like where to stand and where to look in a scene. When Burt focused, he quickly learned what was happening around him. To understand other actors, like Spencer Tracy, he watched films over and over. This helped him gain more knowledge. Burt learned about filmmaking by staying on set after his own scenes were done. He watched how everything worked and asked questions, which helped him understand the process better. Over time, he started helping produce his own films. Unlike other actors who focused on deep emotions or complex techniques, Burt had a simple style. He thought about what the scene needed and used his voice and body to create the right impact. He didn't overthink things, which was one reason he stood out. His ability to take on many different roles helped him get noticed, starting with the movie The Crimson Pirate, released in 1952. He performed amazing stunts he learned as a circus acrobat, like climbing ship masts and swinging from ropes. His childhood friend Nick Crate helped make the action scenes seem more authentic. The reason the character didn't speak in the film wasn't because he couldn't, but to hide his strong Brooklyn accent. The film was not only lively and entertaining, but it also made a lot of money, which helped make Lancaster a popular star. However, Lancaster didn't stop there. Just a year later, in 1953, he showed a different side of himself in the film From Here to Eternity, where he played a serious role. A strong army sergeant shared an emotional moment when he kissed Deborah Kerr on the beach while waves crashed around them. This scene became iconic and is still remembered today. The film was a big hit, winning 8 Academy Awards including Best Picture. It was clear that Lancaster was more than just a stuntman. He could easily switch from comedy to serious acting. The next year, in 1960, he took on a very brave role in his career by playing a preacher in Elmer Gantry. His character seemed charming, but had many flaws. The story covered topics that were rarely shown in films at that time, making it a bold choice. Lancaster's performance was so impressive that he won an Academy Award for it. He was willing to take risks, and the movie did very well financially. Lancaster showed success by taking risks, but he wanted more than just acting. With help from his agent, Harold Heck, he started his own production company. This allowed him to have control over the films he worked on. Unlike many actors stuck in long studio contracts, Burt chose to do things his own way. In the 1950s, his company, Heck Hill Lancaster, was influential. The company was known for making many great films. One of their biggest successes was the small film Marty, which came out in 1955 and won 4 Oscar awards, including Best Picture. They also made other important films that tackled serious topics like racism and politics, which wasn't common at the time. Managing the company was challenging, especially with some films, like The Unforgiven, released in 1960, being expensive to produce. Excessive amount of money in addition. Burt came to the realization that the management of a business was consuming his time away from acting, despite the fact that the company had closed down. However, Burt's work had already brought about a change in Hollywood. Lancaster was one of the most well-known names in Hollywood by the time the 1960s rolled around through his performance in the 1962 film Birdman of Alcatraz, in which he played a prisoner who became an expert on birds. He was nominated for another Academy Award in the same year. He played a leading role in the film Judgment at Nuremberg, showcasing his acting talent alongside famous actors of his time. He constantly pushed himself by working with well-known directors and taking on tough roles. By 1965, he was recognized for his talent and became one of the highest-paid actors in the world. Burt Lancaster's career was not just about acting. He was also very intelligent. He was brave and willing to try new roles, whether he was playing a pirate, a soldier, or an imperfect preacher. He could make you believe in every character he portrayed. He also played a key role in changing how films were made, showing that creativity and courage could succeed even without big budgets. His life story is about hard work, talent, and determination that make a star memorable. In 1947, Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas worked together for the first time. The film I Walk Alone brought the two actors together and started a partnership that lasted nearly 40 years. At that time, both actors were new to Hollywood. Lancaster became famous after his first film, The Killers, which came out in 1946. Before that, he had been an acrobat in a circus and was known for his charm and energy. Douglas had a different background and worked hard to succeed. He worked hard to build his career and went to acting school in New York. At first, Lancaster was unhappy about being cast with Douglas because he thought Douglas would outshine him. However, their tension ended up making their performance even stronger. Lancaster played Frankie Madison, a tough character who was released from prison after 14 years. Despite his rough exterior, Frankie also showed deep emotions. Douglas played a character named Noel Turner, a smooth nightclub owner who betrayed Frankie. Noel was clever and confident, always staying ahead of his competitors. Their very different styles added excitement to their scenes. One strong moment occurred when Frankie confronted Noel about the betrayal. During this scene, Douglas stayed calm and sharp, while Lancaster showed intense anger and pain. The scene was perfect, and they filmed it 19 times. It became one of the most fun parts of the movie, even though they were both exhausted by the end. When they weren't on screen, they were very competitive, trying to outshine each other in every scene. During a fight scene, Lancaster used his acrobatic skills to propose challenging stunts for their characters, while Douglas was determined to do his own stunts. Filming took 3 days, and both actors ended up with bruises and soreness. Despite this, they showed great respect for each other. When I Walk Alone was released on December 31, 1947, it received mixed reviews from critics but was popular with audiences. The movie was a big financial success and proved that both Lancaster and Douglas were stars. The album received a good response, and the film made $2,300,000, which was a lot of money back then. It also showed how strong the pairing of Lancaster and Douglas was. Their next film, Gunfight at the OK Corral, further established them as one of Hollywood's best on-screen teams. This movie helped build their working relationship, thanks in part to Lancaster's role as Wyatt Earp. Lancaster became famous for his roles in movies like Atlantic City, Sweet Smell of Success, and Elmer Gantry. He was a brave and adaptable actor known for his bold performances and commitment to acting. He even did his own stunts, which was unusual for actors back then, influencing future action stars. Besides his acting, Lancaster was a strong supporter of civil rights and marched with Martin Luther King Jr. He dedicated his time and energy to progressive causes, and often included his political views in his acting roles. Lancaster kept working hard in his later years, despite facing health issues like a stroke and heart surgery. Because of this, he left a lasting impact in movies like Field of Dreams and Rocket Gibraltar. His work with Kirk Douglas showed their friendship and common goal of striving for excellence. He remained humble throughout his career. Burt Lancaster's early life in New York influenced his complicated personal life, which included several marriages and a distant relationship with his kids. He was not only a charming leading actor but also an artist who changed the way acting was seen. His impact on Hollywood was important, and he is still remembered for his talent, determination, and the depth he brought to his characters. Showed up.